Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And it is very rare I get to interview not only a player that I'm a huge fan of and someone whose music is so ingrained in me, it's pretty much in my DNA because I've been listening to it so often for so many years, but somebody that has actually, pretty much created a genre of music. With the one and only Ed Mundell, who was the lead guitarist with Monster Magnet for 18 years, from 92 to 2010. He played on 7 records, toured all over the world with the band. He's got a bunch of other projects he's done, and we're going to talk about that today. And I think if you look up in rock history, Monster Magnet goes down as being one of the original creators of the psychedelic rock, or the modern stoner rock genre, as we call it. So, Ed, it's so cool to have you on the show, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thank you.
Man, what were you doing? And Merry Christmas, man. This is the day before Christmas, I should say. Yeah, man.
I know. It comes up so fast.
I know. And we're both in places where it's like bright and sunny out. So
I know, right?
It's kind of weird. It's not
I think we're actually going to get rain tomorrow, which is going to be cool because
Really?
I grew up in New Jersey and now living in California for like 15 years or so. It's like when it rains, it's so cool because I'm used to seasons.
Yeah, I feel it.
Jersey, we used to have hurricanes and, crap like that. And, thunderstorms all the time, and so like when it rains, it's like a big event, and nobody out here can drive in the rain. So
really?
Oh yeah, everybody just like, I don't know what, and there's so much oil on the road, so when it does rain, everything gets really slick.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So there's accidents all the time, so I try not to go out when it rains, but just in the yard or something, but
I hear you.
If I ramble on too long, just let me know.
No, man, you're all good. It's all good. I grew up in New York City, so I know what you mean about the holidays. Usually snow or something gives us an inclination of the holidays. Man,
yeah.
What were you doing musically before you started playing with Monster Magnet?
Well, I've been playing since I was like 11, and I'm 49 right now. So I've been playing for a while, and mostly in my room. I was a guitar hero in my own bedroom kind of thing.
There you go.
But around 90 or 91 or so, I'd been going to this record store, Jack's Music in Red Bank, and also Vintage Vinyl was another one. And I from buying records and stuff, and the stuff I was looking for, people kind of got to know what I liked, and they're like, "Oh, we just got this in, you might dig it." And blah, blah, blah. Then talking with people, and they're like, "Oh, and they're like, oh, I play guitar," and they knew I played guitar because of the records I was buying, like old 70s, like obscure stuff. And so they knew I played, and then I got to know people better and then started playing. And before you know it, we had a band called Daisy Cutter. And we were practicing, actually, it's funny, in the same basement that Monster Magnet was practicing in, because Tim and Dave lived in a house on Canal Street in Red Bank. If I'm getting too deep, let me know.
No, this is good, man. Go ahead. This is very cool.
They ended up tearing that house down, and it's a parking lot right now. But yeah, can you hear me all right?
Totally.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can hear you fine too. So basically, I was practicing with Daisy Cutter, and we would play shows in New York City and stuff. So we put out one record called Shithammer Deluxe.
Yes.
And it's a little different. It's kind of like Jesus Lizard and stuff like that. But I've always been like into more like obscure early 70s rock or late 60s rock and stuff like that, or more mainstream like Mountain and stuff like that. But basically weird guitar rock, and that was back then. I'm still am, but And then, I got to know some people, and we started that band. And that had Tim Cronin. Well, we had a drummer, Reg, and Seth was the singer, and Jim and Reg were married. Jim was the bass player. And then on second drums was Tim Cronin. And that's why we were practicing in that basement. And because Tim was living with Dave Wyndorf at that house. And Tim actually turned out to be the lighting guy for Monster Magnet. And back in the day, he did all the liquid light shows. And I think he's not the lighting guy anymore. I'm not sure. I know he got married.
He was the first singer.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Karen. And Tim.
It's a group interview.
Yeah, I know. She's in the other room. So
that's awesome.
She's working on our taxes when. But, yeah, because I think we have to get them done by the 26th. So
Tim was the first singer. Not a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Tim was the first singer of Monster Magnet.
Yeah, they did an EP called Freak Shop USA. That was before they did Spine of God. And Tim was singing through a Fuzzbox and everything like that, with Lizard Johnny and songs like that. And I was a huge fan. Anyway, I'm getting off track a little bit, but I was a huge fan of Monster Magnet before everybody knew about them, because they were a local band and they played, we had the Brighton Bar or the Cafe Bar. And that was pretty much it that you played. Or you could play in Asbury, like if Jane's Addiction came. When Nothing Shocking came out, Jane's Addiction came around. And I think that was 88 or so. Or maybe a little later. I'm not sure. Monster Magnet got a chance to open, but I wasn't in the band yet. But they opened for Jane's Addiction, and that was like a big gig.
Yeah.
Because, you're used to playing in front of like 20 people at the Brighton Bar or whatever, and then that grew and grew and grew for them. But I was a fan of them before I joined. And anyway, but getting back to Daisy Cutter, we played in the same basement as on the other side of the basement, and you couldn't stand up because the ceiling was so low. So we all had to sit in chairs and play and all that kind of stuff. But Tim played other drums in that band. And then Monster Magnet went on a tour with Soundgarden in the States. And all of a sudden, I got the chance to join them. I did a bunch of shows with Daisy Cutter, but we never toured or anything like that, because everybody was either married or, whatever. I was young. I was like 21. And, I think I could barely get into the clubs we were playing. So,
but what happened? Well, John McBain was on that without like getting gossipy. John McBain was on that first record. Was on like Spine of God.
Oh yeah.
Did he just leave, or?
I don't know. Something must have gone on that Soundgarden tour, because when they got back, everyone was just like, "Oh my God, they're on tour!" And Spine of God was so good.
It was great.
Yeah, it was a great record, and so they were touring for Spine of God, and something must have happened, because when they got back, Tim was like, they need a guitar player. Do you want to play with them? And Dave called me up, actually. And I guess he got my number from Tim. I don't know. But I knew Dave, but I wasn't, I knew all the guys, but I wasn't like super friends with them or anything.
Sure.
And something must have happened on that tour. But when they got back, all my amps and stuff were in the basement anyway. So I just moved them to the other. And I learned a bunch of songs, like Medicine, like, all that kind of stuff. And I learned a bunch of songs and I played, and they're like, "You want to join?" And I was like, "All right." And all of a sudden, I was working nights at a supermarket on the night crew from 11 to 7:30 in the morning. And 7:30 in the morning, everybody would go to like a local bar that worked at, that opens early. That all the guys on the night crew would go and drink and stuff. And I was working on the night crew, and all of a sudden I'm going on tour. They're just like, "Oh yeah, we got a tour of Europe coming up." So I had to learn the whole set, which at that point was only like 30 minutes long, because they didn't have that much material.
Yeah, Spine of God was an EP, I think, wasn't it?
No, it was a full album, but it was kind of short though.
Yeah, I know that song Ozium. I love that song still to this day.
Yeah, we never played that one live, but we always played Spine of God. I think they still play it to this day. But that song can get it to like 12 minutes long live, 15 minutes long, because there was never really I mean, there was a set structure, but there was room to kind of move around within that. So, you know, the middle section would be one night it'd be 8 minutes long, one night it'd be 4 minutes long, one night it'd be 20 minutes long. So there was wiggle room a little bit, you know, to kind of expand some of the stuff. And we were all young then too. So it was like, you know, it was a different ball game.
So, okay. So now you join the band, all of a sudden you're touring all over the world. I know how many you've probably done, like 10, but how many world tours have you guys done over 18 years? God.
We've opened for everybody. We played everywhere. But at the beginning, though, I caught the tail end of the touring for Spine of God. So it was summer of '92, and we went to Europe. But we've done so many tours. Yeah, and then we got back and immediately started working on Super Dredge. So right when we got back, because we got signed to A&M Records. And I remember when I signed the contract, we all had to go up to New York City with our manager and everything. And I remember the night before we signed the contract, I took acid with my friends. So I'm still coming down from the acid when we're going up to meet all these bigwigs, and you know, and
that's so funny.
Lawyers and managers and, you know, record company people and all this crap. And it's like, all right, cool, man, you know. But I didn't tell anybody I did acid the night before. So.
That's so funny. You know, it's kind of, if you think about it,
you can do that when you're young, you know.
Oh, I know, but if you think about it, you know, when you're 21, 22 and you know nothing about any of that stuff, it's really an unfair advantage. I'm just thinking out loud, sort of. You're going to meet with all these people. You guys have no frame of reference on anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's nice, but how do you know, I could see how now people could, like, why people get hoodwinked, because it's like you know, it's like you have no knowledge of any of this stuff.
Yeah, but also that was a different time. That was when record companies would give you a chance to develop, and if you didn't sell a million records off the first, you know, album, you know, we had, I think, a 4-album deal or something like that. But they would, you know, promote you and give you a chance. Nowadays, you have to come out of the chute with like a huge record or you're dropped or whatever. I mean, how many record labels are there anymore? It's like, you know, people are just doing it themselves or whatever with the internet and everything. But it's like, if you don't drop a huge hit or anything right off the bat, but the record companies were willing to give you a chance to kind of develop and get into the groove. And that was in videos too. We had a video for Twin Earth and all that. Yeah, it was just a different era, but yeah, I know people get ripped off all the time, and I'm sure we did. But at the beginning, it was cool because you get a huge advance, so everybody made some dough, and you know, you could quit your job because, you know, people worked in between tours and stuff like that, you know, and go to like temp agencies and do whatever, you know. And we had a chance to kind of chill out and just do music. But yeah, I'm sure, you know, people made money, you know, and everybody's kind of sleazy, and you know, everybody's just looking to make a buck, which, you know, I get, but I don't know, you don't have to be a dick about it. But
no, totally. Hey, what was your favorite place you traveled to, because you've been all over the world so many times?
Well, you know, I was talking about that with Karen the other day, and I think Spain was really cool, and they treated us really well, and we got a chance to go to Japan twice, which was pretty cool. It's totally different. And everybody was really cool. I had a birthday. My birthday is in August. And when we were in Japan, I had a birthday. And people brought me absinthe and toys and this and that. They brought me presents because they knew it was my birthday, like people at the show.
That's so cool.
They're waiting outside the backstage doors, all these like tiny little cute girls and stuff. And you know, handed me absinthe and stuff. But that was pretty cool. We went to Greece twice as well, and that was really amazing. Such great seafood there. Oh my God. And the second time we went there, actually, we were on this festival with a bunch of other bands, and they had some freak giant storm, and all the bands were staying at the same hotel, and there was a bar and a pool on the roof at the hotel.
God, that's dangerous.
Yeah. Karen was with me, so we went to bed early, you know, and stuff. We hung out, but there were bands like Nashville Pussy and Dinosaur Jr. Who else? I think Lita Ford was on the bill too.
Amps floating in the water, tell them.
Oh yeah,
freak storm.
Yeah, there was a freak storm that came up. So everybody's at the hotel kind of partying together because, you know, you meet on the road and, you know, you see each other, ships in the night passing through kind of thing.
Sure.
And yeah, they had some freak storm, and Tim, I think, called the hotel and said, listen, show's canceled. Marshall amps are like flying off the stage in puddles of water, rolling around and all this, and they couldn't keep it together, so they canceled the show. So we're at a hotel with all this time with all these other bands that their shows got canceled too. So it's like, well, let's party and stuff and eat good food and party. And so Athens was pretty cool. So
the trip had the riots. Remember with the tear gas?
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. You're listening to everything, aren't you? So, the second time we went, or no, the first time we went, there were riots. So police had tear gas and
riots over the just kids going wild because of the festival, or like was something else going on?
It was some kind of political thing.
Oh, okay.
Really not sure what was going on, but at the time it was probably like 2002 or so. In Greece, the people were going crazy, and I mean they were throwing bottles through windows at shops and stuff and all this stuff. So when we got there, we walked in the hotel. The first thing they did was they gave us like soaked towels to put over our face so we couldn't breathe the tear gas and stuff.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and like police in riot gear running down the street and all kinds. They were like, you can't leave the hotel, you know, that kind of thing. So
wow, that's weird. Holy smokes. So okay, so Spain, Japan, and Greece. All right, so without
among others. I mean, Germany was always really fun too, and we went to Europe a lot. So you know, and I'm 22. I've never been out of the country before, so going to London and and Scandinavia, and just going all over the place was just like, I had never heard of some of the foods before. So, Joe and John were a little bit more worldly than me.
Right.
So they kind of walked me through it because I was just like a green little kid, and there's something on the screen.
So wait a minute. So you've been with your wife that long?
No. In a few days, we're going to have our 12th anniversary, but I think we've been together about 15 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's like 2006 or something like that.
Yeah, we were married. Yeah.
Yeah, we were married in 2006, and I
That's
think
cool,
I met
man.
her in 2004. But she's been around for a lot of it. She does a lot of concert photography as well.
Oh, okay. So she's,
Gotcha.
Man, can you, without getting anybody in trouble, can you share a couple of cool, like crazy rock and roll stories from back in the day with Monster Magnet?
Let me think. You can edit out bad pauses, right? And stuff.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
I mean, there was so much stuff when we were touring in the States. There were a lot of long drives. We had a tour bus at this time too, so everybody had a bunk, and we had a front lounge and a back lounge, and you could do pretty much whatever you wanted. And every night after the shows, whatever booze was left. And first of all, our rider was a bottle of vodka, bottle of Jack Daniels, 2 bottles of wine, and 4 cases of beer every night. So there's the band and the crew.
Oh my God.
Whatever's left over got stacked on the bus. I mean, we also had like food, like pretzels and stuff like that, and whatnot. But that was like all the booze, so of course that's going to lead to trouble.
Yeah.
And when we were on a tour in the States, we had a big thing for BB guns, like the CO2 powered BB guns, and fireworks. So we would always buy, whenever we were in a part of the country that sold fireworks, everybody would buy like $150 worth of fireworks a piece. Mortars and Roman candles, and we'd have Roman candle fights, and you can picture people drinking doing this too. It's like, it's amazing nobody died with that kind of stuff. And one time in Cleveland, we did a show. I don't know if you remember the radio show Rockline.
Yeah, of course, I sure do. Yeah, that was on like every Saturday or Sunday night, or late at night it was on.
So we were in Cleveland and we did Rockline, and then we were at a Holiday Inn. Next to the Holiday Inn was a big field, a big open field. And so after we did Rockline, which was like from 7 to 8, we had time to kill. So John and Joe, bass player and drummer, and I would go down to the bar and, you know, have a couple of beers, watch a Yankee game stuff. I'm a Jersey guy, so I'm a big Yankee fan, and we're all Jersey guys. But yeah, so we got into real bad trouble one night because we were firing off all these crazy fireworks in the field, and then we hear like sirens coming, and it's like, oh crap, they're coming for us. So we ran down to there was a creek in the woods behind the and we were like hiding in the creek. They had dogs and helicopters and everything, like with spotlights and everything. So we were hiding in this creek, and finally they left, and we went back to the hotel, changed our clothes, went back down to the bar, and we're like, oh my God, we almost just got arrested. That would have been really, really messed up. And, you know,
holy smokes.
And we all got a bad case of poison ivy from being in there. So for the next few weeks, I had to wrap my arm up because I had such bad poison ivy on my arm that when I played guitar, you know, it was like, it would be painful as hell.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then we didn't know how to cure it. So we thought hot water was good. And we were on our way down to Florida to play. We were staying at this hotel. I'm going on and on, but we were staying at this hotel with, and Dave's not involved in any of this at all. It was just me and John and Joe and myself. And we're down in Florida sitting in the hot tub all day out by there's a hot tub and a pool. And there's all these, like, you know, old people and stuff looking at us like we're freaks, which we were. And yeah, I mean, seriously. And so we're sitting in the hot tub all day and having cocktails and that kind of thing. So we decided, while we all still have poison ivy like crazy, and the hot water is not curing it, which we figured out later that hot water is the worst thing you can do with poison ivy or anything warm. So, but we get all loaded and everybody goes to bed, all the tourists or whatever, and we had the night off. So what we did was we took all the furniture from all around the patio and everything, the umbrellas, the tables, the chairs, and we really, really got into it and really did it perfectly. We reset all that stuff in the bottom of the pool exactly. We set up the tables and the chairs and the umbrella and everything in the bottom of the pool. And nobody caught us or anything, and we hung out there proud of our work because we really tried to replicate what it looked like outside, but under the water in the pool. I know, right? And obviously there was nobody else that could have done this because there's, you know, obviously, look at the freaks. That's who did that. Nobody said a word, and the next, you know, morning, afternoon, whenever we got up, everything was set up perfectly again how it was, and nobody ever said a word. But I thought that was pretty random thing to think of, but we just thought of that. Let's take all the furniture and set it up in the bottom of the pool. It'll be awesome.
That's like a before commercial for anti-drugs.
I mean, but back in your youth, you could do that kind of
stuff.
Of
course, right. And think nothing of it, and you think it would be totally normal.
I mean, I look like a freak, but I wouldn't go anywhere and do anything like that anymore. I don't think, anyway. We'll see if I ever go anywhere, but I haven't gotten in trouble yet. We haven't gotten arrested. And what we used to do too, as well, I know I'm rambling on, but we used to, when we were hanging out, John and Joe and myself, and then later Bob and Jim, who replaced John and Joe in the band, we always would like play little pranks on each other and stuff. And Dave would never like leave his room. He would always like be in his room. I don't know what he did, read comic books or I don't know. And his schedule was always different too. He would sleep all afternoon and be awake all night kind of thing. But he would never like hang out with us and party or anything because he was just doing his own thing. So we would take all the plants and chairs and everything and put them in front of his door. So in the morning or whenever he got up to go out, he'd have to move all this crap. I mean, it got really creative. I mean, we found all kinds of stuff. And we got in trouble one night because the hotel said we broke stuff and we had like $1,000 worth of damage. But we would go and pile stuff in front of Dave's door. And after a while, he caught on that, you know, if he goes in his room and doesn't come out, there's going to be crap. And he caught us one night. And he's like, you guys are such a-holes. You know, you got to stop that. And, you know, what are you doing? And grow up. And all this kind of thing. And then so we had to take the stuff back and put it back. And then we would go 10 minutes later have like another beer or something, or whoever drank Jack Daniels, they would do that. It's like, let's do it again. And then so we would do it again to Dave, 10 minutes later. And then he would hear something and come out and like, oh my God, come on. And then, okay, we're fine. We won't do that anymore. Like, it's fun hijinks.
Yeah. But, is he much older than you?
I think he's like 10 years older or so.
So maybe that's, so he was probably 10 years past him doing that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure, well, in the early days, he was part of pranks and stuff like that, but it was usually harmless. Nobody was throwing chairs through windows or, unless you're on tour with the Screaming Trees, and then they're doing all that. So
were they really?
Oh yeah. Oh, those guys back in the day. And I love Mark Flanagan.
Oh, what a great.
Back in the day, he was a big drinker, and they all were. And he's totally sober now, and he plays at, I think he lives in Silver Lake or something. But we see him a lot out here, and I love that guy. But back in the day, I mean, we would play shows with them, and it would just be a disaster, I mean, but I mean, we've done so many tours and done so much stuff. We used to open for everybody. I mean, we opened for Metallica. We opened for Marilyn Manson, Van Halen, you name it.
Who's the favorite act you opened for, as far as just like being good people?
Well, everyone was really good. There are very few jerks or assholes that we came across, but everybody was really cool because I think they respected us. That's why they asked. Oh, we opened for Aerosmith too. They were totally cool.
Wow.
And they were totally sober, and that was a great tour. They were so totally cool. And I remember the first day. Well, our manager said, Aerosmith wants you to tour, but they don't want any alcohol backstage. And we're like, well, we need to have some alcohol and all that. And, and they broke the rule of having no alcohol backstage for us, because they didn't want to be tempted, I guess, or I don't know. Sure. But the first day, Joe Perry walks into our dressing room and goes, "Did you guys get your booze? Is everything cool?" We're like, "Yeah, man." It's like, that's Joe fucking Perry, know? And Steven Tyler was totally cool. And, we'd hang out with those guys. Brad Whitford. I mean, they were all really cool. And, Eddie Van Halen was great. I mean, everybody was cool. And we've done festivals. We played with Cheap Trick. We played with everybody. Nashville Pussy. I mean, I've known those guys for years and years. And because we've done so many shows. When we did the Manson tour, we, Hole it was Monster Magnet, Hole, and Marilyn Manson. And I guess Courtney Love and Manson had some kind of fight stuff going on. And, so Hole got thrown off the tour. So Nashville Pussy came on the tour. So it was Nashville Pussy, and we got bumped up. So we had an extra 15 minutes on our set. So it was Nashville Pussy, Monster Magnet, and Marilyn Manson. And that was on the I Don't Love the Drugs, but the Drugs Love Me tour. He had the big flashing lights, the drugs. That was a great tour. He'd walk up stilts and everything. That was really cool. They were always great to us. I don't think anybody's been a dick, but we've toured all over the world several times. I don't know how many tours. It seemed like we were always on tour or making a record. We go on for 8 weeks, off for 2 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 weeks, and then work on a record, for a month or so. And, and we had the luxury of going to great places to work, like Vancouver. We did, I think, was it God Says No? I think in Vancouver. We came out to LA to do Power Trip. We worked in New York City at the Magic Shop to do Super Judge and Dopes to Infinity. And,
so many classic albums that you played on, man. They were just, every one of those albums is great.
Some of them hold up because I would have to, in the later days before a tour, I'd have to relearn songs because when we're off tour, I'm not playing those songs.
Yeah, of course.
So I'd go back and listen and play along with the records. I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty cool, and the sound got better as it went along as well. Like Super Judge is it's like Spine of God, which I wasn't on, is good, but it was recorded, on a budget at a small studio in New Jersey in a basement, subterranean sound, which everybody recorded at. But then Super Judge was in New York, and the quality was a little better than Dope's to Infinity. I thought the sound quality of that record is great. And then for Power Trip, we went out to LA and worked with Matt Hyde, and that was the first time we worked with Pro Tools.
Oh, okay.
That was when Pro Tools was just coming out. That was like 97, because I think that came out in 98. And that record went gold, actually. I have a gold record for that. So
all those records are one. I mean, honestly, I'm not just saying I love every one of those records. I mean, Monster Magnet's in my rotation regularly. It's not like, yeah, I mean, I just think the records are really good. The songs were great. The guitar work is amazing. Everything fits. You guys are incredibly tight, and it's just a very, very cool band.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, it was fun there.
So let me ask you again, without like getting into gossip or anything, to the extent you can talk about it, after 18 years, you wound up leaving. What prompted all that?
Well, there were a lot of factors going on. Like I said before, we were on tour a lot. I wasn't looking to hang out with girls or do drugs or anything like that, because I had been married by that point for a few years. And also, it kind of turned into almost like a formula, because we were playing the same set every night for like 2 years. And it was like we would put out a new record and we wouldn't play any new songs. We're only playing the old ones, but the same order, the same this, the same that. And it just got to be like, it's almost like a machine. Like I like to kind of improvise a little bit, and stretch out. I don't want to play the same exact thing every night. It was turning into playing the same exact thing. So I was like a robot kind of, and it was fun for a while. And then after a while, I was just like, I don't know. I can't do this anymore. And I, called Dave, and this was like August of 2010. And we had another tour, I think starting in November or something. But I was like, listen, I'm quitting. So I can't do this anymore. And he was like, what are you talking about? You're an instant rock star and all this. And, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, dude, I can't do this anymore. And it was like 2 months notice to find someone else.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair.
Extremely.
I just was like, I can't do this anymore. And I always had side bands, along the way, because I like to stretch out and play stuff that's, and, I just was like, no. And then the night before the tour, Dave called me. He's like, yeah, we're flying out tomorrow. You sure you want to quit? And I know I didn't need rehearsal, because I've been playing the same set for 2 years or whatever it was. And I was like, Dave, I'm done. I can't do this, so I don't know. I'd like to, stretch out a little bit and kind of have fun, at least, because music is fun and it's great. But when you get to be like almost like in a factory, like a machine, and the treadmill and all, it was kind of getting to be like a job. And also because we weren't selling as many records, the money was kind of going down too. So we had 2 dogs and a cat and stuff. So we had to, people had to stay at the house, and my wife travels a lot for work. So it was costing me more to go on tour than to stay home. Yeah. And I was like, well, I really don't enjoy going on tour and doing the same set. And it's not putting anybody down, but
no, it sounds totally reasonable. I mean, extremely reasonable.
But you probably have to hear the other side of the story too, because I'm sure there is. There's sides to every story. But that's, I mean, I didn't hate anybody or whatever. I just wanted to be in a band with guys that were my friends and write crazy music and do whatever we wanted, kind of thing, and not do the same exact thing every night. And there's so much material in Monster Magnet stuff.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so much stuff could sound good live, but it wasn't a bad set, but it was the same thing. And I got kind of bored with it and tired, and just was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
And prior to that, were the sets varying and you were stretching out? I mean, was that the way the whole thing was since day one, that it was very formulaic, or?
No, it was actually very adventurous, for a time. And, even when we put out Monolithic, we would play half of that record live.
That's such a good record, man.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
I thought that was when we signed with SPV after the A&M days. And yeah, that was when we had the new bass player and drummer, Jim and Bob. And yeah, I just, that was fun. I mean, that was fun. And with those guys, it was fun. But then it got to just be not fun. But yeah, there's so much material to choose from. And it came time that we weren't playing a lot of good stuff. And, you know, I tried to kind of mix it up a little bit. I would bring theremins on the road. I don't know if you know what a theremin is.
No, what is that?
It's like this machine that makes old like sci-fi sounds, and you kind of take your hand and move it towards the bar, and it goes. Woo!
Oh, a theremin?
Yeah.
It's pronounced theremin.
Theremin, yeah.
Theremin, yeah. It has like the antenna. I've seen those like in music museums, kind of. Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah. So I would, you know, set up those and go, Dave, while we're jamming and Spine of God or something, and we put the theremin through an echo.
Yeah.
Pedal and all kinds of stuff and oscillators and stuff that go like Hawkwind kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dave, you should do this. So that lasted about, I don't know, 6 days. And then he's like, I don't know. But I thought it sounded cool. It's like while we're doing like an extended jam or something, you could, and you have nothing really to do, you can go over there and make a bunch of noise and stuff. And that was always Dave's kind of thing. He's a great rhythm guitar player. And writes great stuff, but live, because he has to sing, he never really, you know, played. Well, you know, he was just like a layer of noise underneath, which made it kind of sound bigger.
Yeah.
So his guitar always had like flangers and stuff on it, and he was just like, yeah, you know, whatever, and, you know, just, you know, doing all the rock stuff, and that was cool. And but really behind the scenes, he's a really, really great rhythm guitar player. Like so solid. And yeah, so I don't know. Does that answer your question?
No, it does. And it sounds really totally fair. And like, I don't think you have any like reason to feel awkward about it. It sounds very reasonable from your perspective of, you know, I wanted to stretch out. I mean, I'm looking at, you know, now you didn't play on all these records, but there's 149 songs that I'm looking at. And I don't even think I have, yeah. So, I mean, even if 125 of them were stuff you played on, that's a lot of freaking music, man. Wow. And there's some great tunes. Like, you know, you just mentioned, you know, Monolithic. Like I love, Master of Light. I mean, there's so many good songs, man. It's just,
yeah, well, Dave wrote it all, and then it was up to us to interpret. That was another thing too, was, there was really no room to write. And I had all these riffs and stuff that I wanted to do. So that's another reason why I always had side bands and stuff, because it was like, you know, the Dave show. And that's not saying it in a bad way, because
no,
awesome songs.
Absolutely does.
And his voice is really incredible.
Totally.
Yeah, but it was like I had no outlet to write in that band. So I was just like, well, I played like all the time. You know, of course, when you do that, you're going to come up with stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another reason why I had the Atomic Bitchwax when I was in the band, and we'd play in between tours, and then the UEMG, and I played with anybody. You know, I'd go jam with people on stage and do all this stuff. I got to jam with Government Mule with Gregg Allman.
That's
singing.
Nuts.
I did One Way Out. Yeah.
At the Beacon? Where did you do that?
That was at the Fillmore in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah, because we were all the bands stay at this one hotel called the Phoenix, so we were staying there.
Don't forget Bunny Racket. That's really unusual. The children's album we did.
Yeah. Well, that's later though. Anyway, sorry.
No. Let's talk about some of these projects, and let's talk about Atomic Bitchwax first. You formed that in 95. Yeah, for people who haven't checked out Atomic Bitchwax, please go give them a listen. It's great stuff. Two albums. What's that?
I'm only on the first 2 records and an EP because those guys turned into jealous that I was always on tour a lot. And while I was on tour, they kicked me out of my own band. And I'm in Germany playing, and I see a poster for them playing a show with my picture on it. And it's just a picture of me playing live. And I was like, wait a second, what is this? And then I get back to New Jersey. I'm like, what the hell? And they went on without me. I got kicked out of my own band, so I haven't spoken with any of those guys since. So
that's amazing.
I just thought that was really uncool. But because we made 2 really good records, I thought, and the EP I thought was really good too.
Hell yeah.
And I just didn't know what the deal was, but it turned out they just wanted to be, you know, rock stars or whatever. And I guess it eventually imploded or whatever. I don't know. But
yeah, the website's gone. I was going to ask you. I don't think they're still around because there's not really an online presence.
I have no idea because I don't really follow it or anything. But we did 2 really good records, and that kind of went along with my philosophy of, you know, let's stretch out a little bit. And also, it was different. And we had on the second record, which is appropriately titled The Atomic Bitchwax 2, Warren Haynes guested on the song.
How the hell did you get that happen? I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, I met Warren when we jammed in San Francisco. Actually, I knew him from New York playing at the Wetlands and stuff.
Okay.
Before Government Mule was huge and everything. Yeah. And then when we jammed, and then he gave me his number. He's like, "Yeah, call me when you're back on the East," because he lives in New York City now. And we had this one song called Smokescreen, and I play like guitar through a Leslie speaker, and it's, you know, it's like really nice, like, you know, that kind of like really floaty with a busy bass line. And we were like, we need some really greasy ZZ Top kind of slide. And I don't really play slide very well. I'm working on it, but I don't. So I was like, well, I can call Warren, you know, see if he's in town. And I called him up, and he was like, yeah, I'll come down. And we were recording in North Jersey, so it was only like 20 minutes away or something. So the guy that ran our label, a little small label, but he lived in New York, and he picked up Warren, brought him to the studio, and Warren was totally cool. He played this awesome like slide guitar and regular guitar. And he was saying that at the time he was really into Jeff Beck's Blow by Blow and Wired. So you can kind of hear that little influence in there.
Which song is that?
I think it's called Smokescreen. Yeah, it is called Smokescreen. And he recorded, it was great how he recorded. He's like, don't tell me what key anything is in. Don't tell me anything about the song. Let me just play what comes out of my mind. And he just killed it. And then he ended up playing like 3 or 4 takes, but the first one was the one, you know, and we put some other ones in there at different places, but the first one was the one. And that was when he's like, I just want this to be, and I loved his philosophy. He's like, I want this to be totally off the cuff, and let's see what happens. And if it stinks, we'll just get rid of it and, you know, figure it out. And he just ruled. And seeing your 35 back there, ES335, he brought one in, the dot neck one, but it was an original old one. And he was just like, they're getting really expensive. So I figured I'd better buy one before they get too expensive. And it was kind of messed up. So he had the Gibson custom shop fix it up for him, because they love him at Gibson. I mean,
oh my God.
I think he's the best living guitar player in the world. He's just
the hardest working, I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's always doing stuff, and his voice is amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, he was really, really, totally cool, you know, and just walked in and, you know, smoked a joint, and the guy at the studio was like, had a strict. I don't smoke cigarettes or anything, but he had a strict no smoking at all policy because it gets in the equipment and the tubes and everything. But when Warren came in, he's like blown away. He was just like, you guys know Warren Haynes? And I was like, oh yeah, not a big deal. He's a really cool guy, and he's really nice and mellow and always smiling. And he's like, and Warren wanted to smoke a joint, and he was like, well, Warren can do whatever he wants. So he put off his no smoking policy. So we all smoked a joint, and then he went in and played, and it was great.
That's so cool, man.
So yeah. So only Warren Haynes could smoke in the studio.
There you go.
He can do whatever he wants, you know.
Dude, then in 2011, 9 Chambers is a band that come out. And I remember I bought that CD specifically because you were on it. Just to give people the reference, it was Greg Hampton on vocals, Vinny Appice on drums, Jorgan Carlsson on bass, and Ed on guitar. And then Warren, I think, also played on that. That was...
No, he didn't actually.
Oh, he did not.
But Jorgan was the bass player in Government Mule.
Yeah.
So, or still is, but
That was a great. What happened with that, man? How come? Like, I was hoping more where you would tour or what happened? That was a great record.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vinny's busy and Jorgan's busy as hell with
Right.
Government Mule and other projects. He's working on something now. Jorgan and his wife have a project with Mike Campbell from Tom Petty's band.
Oh, that's cool.
And I forget what it's called, but I'm going to pick that up.
You know what he did that was real good? He Matt's Planet of the Apps. Have you ever checked that out?
Yeah.
That first album, especially, that was killer stuff, man.
They play a lot when they're not on tour out here.
Yeah,
So, and you know, I'll see them at, you know, places having dinner and stuff. Like, hey, how's it going? You know, and all that. But yeah, what happened with Nine Chambers was that was kind of like the brainchild of Greg Hampton. So he's a producer, and we both got in touch through. We both love this guitar player named Tommy Bolin.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean that's I think my favorite guitar player ever. But we're both, you know, in the Tommy Bolin kind of web or, you know, whatever. And so he was like, I'd seen him. He came backstage to a Magnet show and we played the Will Turn out here. And then, we were opening up for a band called Him from somewhere in Scandinavia, I forget. But they're kind of goth rock or something. They were really cool too. But I get off the topic sometimes.
No, dude, you're fine.
But Greg came backstage to a show and we were talking, and then we just stayed in touch. And then when I quit Magnet, he called me up. He said, "Are you interested in doing something?" And he's a record producer, but he also plays guitar, and he had a studio in his house. So we just got together and just started putting stuff down. And then we got Vinny involved and Jorgan involved. And it was good. I mean, we recorded a lot of stuff. I think there's like 13 or 14 songs on the record, and there's probably
great record, man.
Oh, thanks.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it in a long time, but it was cool. We worked a lot, and I think there's like another 8 or 9 songs that we didn't put on the record that are out there. I don't know if they're going to come out or not, but yeah, it was just like everyone is busy or married, and you know, whatever. So it just kind of fizzled. You know, that kind of thing.
That's too bad. I was hoping more would come from that, man. That was a nice, tight project. You know, very talented players in there too. Everybody's.
Oh. Yeah, really... and meeting Vinny was great because I had known Jorgan before, but meeting Vinny was great because I'm a huge fan of the old Derringer stuff that he was on, and the Dio stuff that he was on, and I think he did some Sabbath time too, didn't he?
Was it him or his brother? I think it was.
No, it was him.
It was him.
No,
okay.
I love Carmine too, like the Beck Bogert and Appice.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Is it Appice or Appice?
I think it's Appice.
Okay.
Vinny Appice.
I heard, Ted Nugent once said, like, he was talking about Carmine. He's like, Appice or Appice, depending on what part of Italy you come from. You know, I thought that was
could be. Who the hell knows?
I always call them Appice because it's easy, but I love Carmine too. I got a chance to meet him a couple times, and yeah, but talking with Vinny about old rock stuff was really great because he grew up in, you know, Carmine was all around all that stuff because Carmine's the older brother.
Yeah. But
the Derringer stuff from the mid '70s that Vinny plays on is amazing, and Danny Johnson's on guitar with that with Rick.
From Axis.
I don't know any of his other work.
I think it was from a band called Axis. Danny Johnson.
He's a really great guitar player.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what he's doing these days.
He's actually on my list of one of the guys to track down. So when I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Well, I love the Steve Morse interview. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty.
So if you can get like Danny Johnson, I would listen to that in a second. I mean, a lot of people don't know who he is, but
a lot of people don't know who a lot of people I interview are. I don't know a lot of the people I interview until I meet them. You know, so it's
another guy that you should talk with. I don't know if you. I know you can get a hold of him. He has a new solo record, which I haven't picked up yet. But is Jimmy McCarty? You probably know him from Cactus.
From Cactus, yeah. I've reached out to him, but I don't think I had the right contact info.
Oh, okay. Because he's a Detroit guy. He's a great guitar player. He used to play in Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. Before that, who were Billy Lee and the Rivieras before they were Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, and then he formed Cactus. And you know that had the Carmine and Tim Bogert in there, and Rusty Day from the Amboy Dukes. And anyway, but he's a really great guitar player that nobody knows about as well. You know?
Well, I think
I know all these
people our age know People our age that are into guitar know him.
Yeah, and especially music fans
Yeah.
too.
I think people, baby boomers know him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but growing up, I always, when I'm listening to a record, I'm looking at where it was recorded, the sound engineer, the mixer, who plays on this, who does what. And so I have like a stupid memory of all that kind of old rock stuff. So I have, an encyclopedic memory of stupid rock.
Well, it's good stuff. Especially all that Cactus stuff was great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was phenomenal. That was great groove, good songs. I love that stuff.
It was good power trio heavy rock.
Very much.
Like that kind of, and the guitar tones were awesome. And Tim Bogert on bass, and stuff like that. And yeah, that's really cool stuff. People should go on. You can find those those records on CD.
Oh, I'm sure they're on iTunes as well.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I never really checked that, but yeah.
I just started streaming like a couple of weeks ago. I bought the iTunes, and I hate to say this, but I could understand why people love it. It's literally like everything that's ever come out ever in the history of music that's recorded, you could listen to. It's crazy. I mean, you can literally do nothing but listen to music every 24/7, and nothing repeats even.
Yeah, see, I'm like not a computer guy at all. Like,
that is worth just learning how to do that.
Yeah.
The only reason I bought it because I'm always asking when I have people on the show, hey, can you like Ultra Electric? I didn't want to say, hey, dude, can you send me the Dropbox? So I got sick and tired of doing that. So I just bought iTunes so I didn't have to bother anybody coming on the show, and I could just listen to it.
Have you listened to the Ultra Electric stuff?
Yeah, I dig it. It's very cool. Spacey, stoner. You talk about stretching out. I mean,
yeah,
there you go, man.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's just three of us too. That's just the bass player. We don't really have singing. It's purely instrumental. I think we have one song we did a cover of Willie Dixon's Spoonful, but we did it like the Muddy Waters Electric Mud version, kind of in that style. Do you know that record, Muddy Waters Electric Mud?
Yeah, I do. I have it. The actual album I have.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have that. I have so much vinyl, but it's kind of stored away because I don't have a turntable now. So, but I have all that stuff on CD as well. So
it's all good stuff, but that's why I got it. And then plus my kids were each paying for it, and they're paying $10 a month each. And I think I got it for $15, and they could all have a free subscription now. So it's just like it just made sense. I hated to do that because I always used to buy the record, but I'm like, this is just ridiculous. It's amazing. But I would learn that if I were you. If you're going to put time into technology, that's something.
Only $15?
15? No, it'd be 10 for you. I got mine is 15 because I have my 5 family members on it.
Oh.
So it'd be $10 a month, and like literally you're basically renting music instead of buying it.
Oh, okay.
But as long as you keep paying $10 a month, no one takes it away from you. So it's just like, oh my God! I mean, everything is on there. It's nuts.
My wife probably knows more about. Well, I'm sure she knows more about that than I do.
But that you should learn, and it's not hard.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about. I want to talk about Ultra Electric Mega Galactic. So that is a new project that you put together in 2012. You have an LP, an EP. You're working on a new EP. You guys did a tour of Europe. Talk about that, man.
That was cool. It was only a couple of weeks because, like I said, I'm not 22 anymore. And, I'm not a kid. Touring is, touring. But that was actually really fun because we did it in a van, and it was us loading our own gear. We had a tour manager who also drove. So it was just us. And actually, we did the tour of Sasquatch. So we were all Sasquatch. And I've known those guys for forever. Our drummer is also the drummer or not anymore, but he was the drummer in Sasquatch.
Are they still around? Because I love that band. I've got I think 3, but when are they? They haven't dropped anything in ages.
I think they had a new record out a few months ago. I hang out with Keith, the guitar player, and Rick, the drummer. I remember Joe Walsh always saying Rick, the bass player, but Rick, the drummer, and I played on a couple of their records.
I saw that. I was going to ask you about that. You did sessions on some of their stuff.
Yeah, I'll play with anybody. It's like if anybody calls up or whatever, I'll just be like, yeah, I'll meet you down there. I did it. Well, anyway, getting off track, but I did a session on a children's record. This guy that we met, he's from Australia, and he's doing this thing called Bunny Racket, and it's like heavy rock, but for children. It's like, it's weird. It's all the lyrics are like goofy for kids and everything. And so Frank Bjork produced that, and then so I played on that. But anyway, getting back to the tour, we were I think you can find that stuff online. I'm sure you can. But the Bunny Racket stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'll play with anybody. It's like,
But you played with Percy Sledge. That is not a guy I'd imagine Ed Mundell on a Percy Sledge record. How the hell?
Right?
That was like, I read that. I'm like, let's talk about that. How the hell did that come about?
We were recording at Sound City, legendary Sound City Studios in Van Nuys, which is not around anymore. And Dave Grohl actually bought the board, the original board. There's a whole documentary about that.
I saw that. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But we were recording at Sound City. I forget what record it was. It might have been Monolithic or whatever it was, the SPV record. Anyway, we were recording, and in the other studio was Percy Sledge recording. So there's like two studios, the big room and the small room. So for drums, you always go to the big room because it had that sound, that Sound City sound. And then when you're done, you do overdubs and everything in the small room. And Percy was finishing up his record, and the producer was Barry Goldberg, who used to play with Michael Bloomfield.
Yeah.
I love Michael Bloomfield.
Yeah, oh my God, tremendous.
Flag, and he played with Dylan, and
such an amazing and such a soulful player, man.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. The stuff he did with Dylan too, like there's a documentary about that too, and he kind of shaped Dylan's sound a little bit. Was like, hey man, how about if we do this, and how about if we do this, and kind of shaped the whole thing in that era. But anyway. Barry Goldberg used to play with
Electric Flag.
Yeah, Buddy Miles.
Yeah, right.
And Barry Goldberg, Michael Bloomfield. Yeah, that was the early stuff. But he was a San Francisco guy. But Barry Goldberg was producing in the smaller studio, the Percy Sledge record, and it was only him and Percy and the engineer. And we were finishing up for the day. And everybody's hanging out in the lounge, having some cocktails, and there may or may not have been some girls around and stuff like that. Barry, and I had been talking with Barry about Michael Bloomfield a lot. And I was like, oh man, I got this CD of him at the old Waldorf and all that.
That's great.
And he had played on all that stuff. So I was always, talking with him whenever I saw him. And then he came in one night and he's like, you know what? When we were recording basic tracks, we forgot to add this one guitar. Can you come in and play it? So we brought in a Fender Twin from our studio and set it up. And it was real simple. It was like, that kind of thing, but they needed another guitar in there. So I went in and played it, and it was pretty cool.
That is cool, man. Barry Goldberg's a keyboard player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But I got credited, but I never got paid. So
what the hell?
It's not a big deal. I mean, union session time, I probably would have made like $60 because it took like 10 minutes to do. It took as long as the song, and then I did another one just as backup. So it was like,
Hey, that's dinner out.
Yeah. All right.
Well, cool, man.
That was a long time ago. It probably was like 2002 or something. I mean, a long time ago from now.
Yeah. That's Ed. What would you say, like, the top 3 experiences you've had musically have been, either like situations or experiences, either because, anything, the work you did, the hang, the vibe, nostalgia?
Well, definitely playing with Government Mule and Gregg Allman. I didn't know Gregg Allman was coming, but we were staying at the same hotel as Mule. So our bus pulled up and their bus pulled up, and we all got out because every rock band stays at the Phoenix Hotel in San Francisco. I mean, that's where rock bands stay. So we had the night off, and Warren's just like, anybody want to jam? And the other guys just like walked away, and I was like, I'll jam. So it was that night. And we had the night off, so I went with my guitar tech down because he was a huge fan, and he knew the bass player at the time. I can't remember his name now.
Alan Woody.
Yeah. He passed away, unfortunately.
Oh, so this is way the hell back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. It's probably Power Trip tour. So
Yeah,
like
this is a long time ago.
1999.
Yeah.
And so they were playing. Yeah, I think I told you already, in San Francisco at the
Fillmore, you said. Yeah.
Fillmore. Yeah. And there's tapes of it because they have tapers at every show. And somebody sent me a CD of it. But the tour manager, let us in, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just out here waiting for the man to come." And I was like, "What man? You got a drug dealer or something?" He's like, "No, the man." And then a limousine pulls up, and Gregg Allman walks out, and I was like, "Oh, the man." And then and Warren's like, "You ready to jam?" And all that. And I was like backstage and you're hanging out, and Gregg comes in, and I'm like getting a beer out of the cooler or whatever at the ice. And Gregg walks over and picks up a Diet Coke. I think he had just gotten sober at that point. And I was like, "Hey, Gregg, my name's Ed. I'm going to jam tonight." And he was like, "Oh, cool, man." And when he talked, he kind of sounded like he had marbles in his mouth. He was just kind of like, you could hear him, but he was very, very quiet and really shy. And then he went on stage, and Warren comes up to me and he's like, "You ready to play?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I'm playing with Gregg Allman, and he's like, "What song do you want to play?" And I was like, "How about Born Under a Bad Sun?" And he's like, "Oh, interesting." And then Warren goes and talks to everyone else and everything. Warren's like, "We're going to do One Way Out in A." So I got a chance to play.
That is so cool.
One Way Out with Gregg Allman singing, like that's the classic Allman Brothers song. And and Government Mule with Gregg Allman. Like, geez. So that's definitely a highlight.
Yeah.
And also the first time I played a festival in Europe was probably Germany, like the Bizarre Fest or something. You can find video of all this stuff on YouTube. And it was probably the Bizarre Fest in like 92. And like you can see on the side of the stage, like Sean from White Zombie is there. And all the bands are on the side of the stage and everything watching us. But there were probably like 200,000 people. And can you imagine being like 22 years old or 21?
Was that the biggest crowd you've ever played in front of?
Oh, no, we played in front of. You play those festivals and there's like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, I think the one in Spain was in Bilbao. That must have been like 400,000 or something.
That's crazy, man.
But yeah, the first time that I walked out on a stage, and you don't get sound checks. They set up your gear and you go out and you just go. It's like that kind of thing. Like the crew sets up your stuff and try to get your monitors right. They do a line check and that's it. Because they have so many bands, you have to get in, get out, all that kind of stuff. But I just walked out and I was like, "Oh my God," But I sucked it up and we played. That's back when we were doing Evil and Elephant Bell and Twin Earth and all those old songs from Superjudge and everything that weren't out yet, kind of thing. And
how many watts of power did you have for that?
Back then, I probably had 2 Marshall stacks, and I used to bring my Echoplex on tour then.
That's risky, no?
Yeah, because they're very fragile instruments.
And they're old.
It's an old tape echo from the early 70s. I have 2 of them. But yeah, you have to demagnetize the heads, and it's an old tape echo, so you have to change the tape cartridge, which Dunlop used to make them. I'm not sure if they make them anymore. I haven't been looking for them. I'm sure I can find them on eBay or something.
Yeah.
But you have to change the tape cartridge a lot, clean the heads, demagnetize the thing, and it's a whole thing, but nothing else sounds like it. But yeah, so I used to play probably 200-watt Marshall stacks back then. Now I just play a half stack through 120-watt orange amp. But yeah, I think I brought the orange for it's an old orange, like 76, I think. And I used to bring that on tour too. But I got quieter in the day because the way I position my amps and where the drum cymbals were, because I'm always stage left. Everything goes by the drummer's point of view, so I was stage left. So my right ear would either hear amps real loud or drum cymbals real loud. And it kind of affected my hearing a little bit in this ear, so in my right ear. So I I keep it low. I don't have stacks anymore, you know, but back then, you know, it was like, we're in a rock band. We need as many Marshall stacks as have, you know, this guy's doing it, and, you know, and it was cranked, you know, and we had all old effects, old big muffs and stuff like that would break down all the time because all that stuff, you know, how old, you know, and then it gets banged around and everything. So the Echoplex I always would carry on with me on the plane because those things are very fragile.
Yeah.
So
that's wild.
Anyway.
All right. So number one was Mule. Number two was first festival you played in Europe at Bizarre Fest, 200,000. What would be number three?
Let me see. I don't know. You know, opening for some of these bands, like opening for Van Halen the first time was cool. It was during the Gary Sharon years. So it wasn't during David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar. It was after Hagar, I think. And that was great because, you know, you're playing with Van Halen every night. And Eddie Van Halen was spectacular. And he was still, you know, cruising, as it were, you know, drinking and stuff. And he collected old twin bikes. So like a highlight would be like Eddie Van Halen riding around this big arena, you know, and they're all circles backstage on an old twin bicycle, you know, a Stingray or something, you know, and he'd like, you know, roll in like, hey guys, what's going on? Into our dressing room on a bike and pick up one of our guitars and play. And he picked up my SG and played it. That was pretty cool, you know, and he's like, oh, let me try that, you know, and it's Eddie Van Halen's playing my guitar, you know, it's crazy. And then, and they were a cool hang. So that was pretty cool. But another highlight too was when we were recording Power Trip, we did a B-side of an MC5 song called Ramalama Fa Fa Fa, Rocket Reducer. And yeah, it's like, you know, that kind of thing. But it's loud. And our producer knew Wayne Kramer. So we had like 30 guitars lined up. And Wayne was going to play the lead on it. And we used it for a B-side. You know, I don't think it came out on any record. But it was probably like the B-side of Power Trip or something like that, back when they used to have B-sides. You know, and Wayne Kramer came in the studio. I was like, oh, my God, that's Wayne Kramer. Because we were all huge MC5 fans. And he was totally cool. And he looked at all the guitars, and he had to pick one to play. And he picked up, out of like 30 guitars lined up, he picked up my Sunburst Strat. And I was like, Wayne Kramer's playing my Strat.
The one you have in your hands right now?
No, a different one.
Okay.
But yeah, this one's a nice one though too.
It's really nice.
Really nice. But yeah, so that's a highlight too, like Wayne Kramer or Eddie Van Halen picking up your guitar and just kind of, you know, playing. You know, they no matter what guitar they play, they all sound like themselves. So it's like, you know, Eddie Van Halen sounds like Eddie Van Halen playing an SG or whatever guitar, you know, because you never see him playing a Gibson.
Never. So, very cool,
he's
man.
09 now, but yeah, so he's just playing those. But those two were pretty fantastic. So I don't. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, man, that's great stories, man.
So,
dude, so you grew up in Red Bank?
Red Bank area. The band's based out of our Monster Magnet is based out of Red Bank. So I was in the general area, but I used to always go into Red Bank because they had good music stores and good record stores. And it was kind of like, you know, all the cool rock people hung out there, you know. Like, you know, we were in...
Where is that? Like, relative to, like, I'm from New York City, so where's Red Bank?
Oh, it's kind of like Central Jersey, almost. Okay. Or...
So it's rural.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like Asbury Park.
Okay.
Is Bruce Springsteen country, and that's like the next town over. So
okay.
It's so we were kind of in Bruce Springsteen country. So
Bruce Springsteen and Monster Magnet.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like growing up?
I mean, it was good. It was. I started playing guitar when I was 11, so I was pretty consumed with that and buying records. My parents thought I was on drugs at an early age because I would listen to like "Axis Bold as Love" by Jimi Hendrix or something, and lay down with my head between the speakers and listen to how everything was panned.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was the best.
Yeah, for a while I wanted to be a recording engineer, because I just loved how those records were made and everything. And, but yeah, I just grew up, you know, it was cool. I have a sister that's 4 years younger than me. And, you know, we had a dog and a cat and, you and yeah, kind of, the normal suburban middle class kind of life.
Sure.
And that was pretty cool. And but my parents were very, very lenient. When I was 15, I saw Ted Nugent was my first concert. And then when I was...
Wait a minute. Was that one with Ted and Aerosmith?
No. This was... so I was 15, so it must have been like 84, something like that. And that was when Carmen Appice was with him. But I was too young, they said. And they were like... They, heard the records I was playing. And like Ted Nugent, Double-Eyed Gonzo, or he's like, that Nashville pussy. And all that. And they're like, oh my God, the devil, we can't let him, So 82, I was too young. So what was I, 12, 13. And then 84, I finally was allowed to go and see Ted Nugent, and I saw him. And then the next year, I didn't tell my parents, but I was pen pals with someone. And I didn't tell my parents. So I was still, 15 or not even 16 yet. And I had a pen pal in Germany that was a huge Ted Nugent fan, and we used to exchange bootlegs and stuff.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back when they had cassettes.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I remember Goldmine magazine, the record collection.
Absolutely. That was great. That was like opening up a history book, man. That was so cool.
I had a subscription to it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And, so I met this guy through Goldmine, and he was flying over from Germany. So I bought tickets to like 7 shows or something, or 8 shows on the East Coast, because then you could buy tickets. You could call and just order them and just pay for them at the door. And I don't know. It was a whole different era. But I was a little kid, and I ordered, I arranged for a rental car and everything. And this guy came over, and I was like, oh, yeah, by the way, Mom and Dad, this guy's coming over from Germany, and we're going to go see 7 Nugent concerts. And it was the summer, so I had summer vacation, and they were just like, what? And they let me go. And we had
really cool.
We had backstage passes like every show. And
how'd you get backstage passes?
I called their management company, because back then on vinyl records, they would put the management company address and phone number on the records. I don't know why, but they would always do that. So I called them up and said, this guy's coming from Germany, and we're going to like 7 shows. We already have tickets. Is there any way, we could, say hi to Ted or whatever? And I was just a little kid. It was Ted Nugent. Oh my God. And they gave us passes for every show. And
that's crazy, man.
I know. We stayed at hotels, and I think the whole time we stayed at the same hotels, which I had found that were near the venues. And we were staying at the same hotels as the band. So we'd be riding up in the elevator with like Cliff Davies, the drummer, and all this.
Nutty, man.
My parents let me do that. So they were pretty open that way, even though they didn't want me to do that because it was trouble. So growing up was pretty cool because they pretty much let us do what we wanted as long as it didn't, cause a murder or anything like that.
That's great, man. That's very. What kind of work did your dad do?
He was a supervisor at UPS. He got in on the ground floor at UPS. And,
that was like back in the day. That was a great job for somebody who maybe didn't have a college degree or something. That was still a way you can make a really good living.
Oh yeah. He did really well. And before that, what else is great about that is for Christmas bonus every year you could get cash or you could get stock. And he would always take stock in UPS. And then when they got airplanes later, when he had retired and everything, and they started the airplane thing, the stock rose like crazy, and he made a killing.
Good for your dad, man. That's awesome.
So, yeah, he was really smart. But before that, he used to shoe horses. I forget what they call that, but he's
farrier.
Was it
a farrier?
A farrier.
To like put horseshoes on horses?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
And him and this other guy, they had this business, and they used to shoe horses. And my mom worked at a beauty parlor doing hair, and stuff like that. But this is early 70s when I was like a tiny.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of something.
Yeah, that is interesting, man. What were some of the lower points, or maybe the bigger obstacles you had to deal with during your career, and how did you get through them? It could be either business, music related, personal, whatever.
Well, a couple of times I had to sell some guitars I really didn't want to sell to pay the rent, and that was kind of weak. I had this. I collect Ibanez lawsuit guitars, which I don't know if you know those from the '70s, which they were exact copies of Gibsons. And I had a copy, an Ibanez '76 mint condition with the original case copy of an Ibanez Carina Explorer, and it was awesome. And I ended up, I sold it. I bought it for like $600, and I sold it for $1,000. And I just felt bad, but I had to pay the rent. It was like, so that's a real low point when you have to do that, sell gear to pay the rent. But I think
a lot of guys. Do you know how many people have told me that same story?
Yeah, everyone's been through it, and it's kind of like a rite of passage where you learn to really appreciate what you have when, that kind of thing. But that was definitely a low point selling guitars. I had a beautiful, I think, '76 cream Strat that I loved, and I had to sell that too. And it was,
it's interesting because from an outsider point of view, I don't even think anything of that, and the same sense of like loss or like just like I don't think that's a low point.
Yeah, well,
it's funny because like the other guys who've shared this with me feel it's the same, like very, half sad, half beating yourself up a little bit. And like as an outsider, I'm looking, I'm like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's like makes perfect sense. You need some money and like.
Yeah, and especially when you really love an instrument. I mean, you can get really attached to these things when you play them every day and all the time. And then it's like, oh man, really? And then that's actually worth something, and I need to, I got 2 weeks to get $600 to pay the rent or whatever. That's a low point. I'm trying to think about stuff like touring. There weren't really any low points because, we were pretty taken care of.
Sure.
I mean, I guess, one of the low points was when I just decided to quit.
Sure.
Because I just saw that it wouldn't change. Like nothing would change. And then my wife was working in Budapest a few years ago, and I'd been out of the band for a while, for a few years. So it was probably like 2015. And we saw that they were playing in Budapest, and it's like, well, I grew up with these guys. I should at least go say hi. And, I knew the sound guy and the guy selling merchandise and, all the road crew and everything. So it's like, well, I know all these guys. I should at least go say hi. And I went, and, that was weird because they were still playing the same set. And I was like,
oh, so when you heard that, were you like, it was probably felt good, like a affirmation of your decision.
Yeah, when I quit, it was kind of like it was a big decision,
Sure.
But yeah, when I saw that, it was an affirmation. It was like, you know what? I'm glad I'm not in this band still, because I was sick of the songs anyway, even though they're great songs. But I just that was a low point, actually deciding to quit.
Yeah.
And, just because it had been so long, and I did grow up with those guys, and we grew up on the road and everything. Yeah. So it was, and we knew each other before and stuff. So it's like I had known these guys for like 25 years,
sure.
And it's like, I just can't do this anymore. So it was a big decision. So that was kind of low for a little while.
Sure.
Then I just picked myself up and was like, I'm either going to wallow in this, or just keep on making music. So I just pulled myself up and started writing more stuff. I've got a little studio here, so I make demos and stuff all the time, and bring them in. And meeting the guys in the UEMG kind of saved me from that too, because it was like, oh, there is life after this, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also playing the Nine Chambers record and doing some sessions and stuff like that. I mean, I played with like every stoner rock band I think in the world. Because nowadays they can just send a digital thing, and we have Pro Tools at the house, so they can just send it over, and I can record something and send it right back, email it right back, and it's like perfect quality and everything. Like, hey, can you put a lead on this song? It's so easy these days. It's almost like not fair. It's like I remember having to haul equipment in, drive an hour to get to the studio and stuff like that, and it's like, wow, this is like. it took me 20 minutes and it's done, and it'll be out in a month, that kind of thing. It's like so weird.
Who have you done? Whose records have you played on?
Well, I played on a lot of bands you probably never heard of. Band called Solarized, couple of Sasquatch records. Who else? Who?
Abrama.
Oh, Abrama, yeah. See, my wife remembers better than I do. Yeah, and the Bunny Racket stuff, and of course the Percy Sledge thing. Yeah, I can probably send you a list or something, but I'm
just curious because that's like a big genre of music that I follow. I've interviewed a lot of guys, most from Sweden.
Oh yeah,
oddly enough, Sweden, Netherlands.
Yeah, we've toured with a lot of those bands like Dozer.
Yeah, I interviewed Tommy.
Yeah.
Tommy Jalapa. In fact, because his new Dozer is, I love Dozer, one of the greatest bands around, and they're not around anymore. He's got a new band called Greenleaf, and they've got they just came out with their
I haven't heard the music, but I've heard of them.
Great, it's great. I love Dozer. I thought was a little. I like Dozer better. I love Greenleaf as well, but I like Dozer better. They had something very unique there. Their singer was great, and yeah, but Tommy Jalapa was a
great thing as well.
He's a really talented guy.
Oh yeah. I think he plays Gibson Firebirds too.
He does, man. He plays Firebirds, and he started like you. Like he's 24. He started Dozer, and now he's got Greenleaf. I think they just came out because I had him on. What's that? Well, it's a great name, but it's funny. We talked about. He goes, "I've never smoked weed in my life. I have nothing to do with getting stoned." I mean, he goes, "It's really funny." And I saw, some of your lyrics are wild. He goes, "Yeah, we just literally make them up on the spot. Like, we'll pick up a magazine and says, oh, we need a, it's like kind of funny how he just, but it works,
Well, that's like a lot of the 70s bands did that too, because they would put out, like Grand Funk would put out like 2-3 records a year for like 6 years, and they were all great, like E Pluribus Funk and then Survival.
Yeah.
But they would tour, but they would put out at least 2 records a year. So you got to do that. You have to kind of just wing it sometimes because, you got to get, product out,
But what does that tell you too about like, what are people interested in, man? They're interested in sincere music. They're not interested in perfection. You're interested in feeling good.
Yeah. A lot of kids today though, don't know about that. They only know about J-Lo or, whatever, or, Britney Spears. I don't know if Britney Spears is even relevant anymore, but, like they know about this processed kind of stuff.
It's just different. Yeah. You gotta, and they have no frame of reference.
Yeah.
There's no
like nobody knows who Mahogany Rush is right now, or Frank Marino is like one of my favorite guitar players, but nobody knows who he is. So it's like, wow, kids today, if they heard that stuff, they got a chance to hear it. They open their minds and actually seek it out, like we used to do when we were kids. Right. I would like hear someone and then go look up in a magazine or something, or figure out, is before Google or anything like that, way before. And go find other records that they played on and just seek it out. And it seems like nobody really seeks anything out, even though I guess they have the iTunes opportunity. Nobody tries anything different. It's just all processed, which, it's its own thing. That's cool if you dig it. But I think a lot of people don't really dig it. They just do it because it's hip and, but I mean, it wasn't hip to listen to most of the music that I listened to when I was a kid, but I didn't give a shit. It was like, and I'd go seek it out, and it was fun, because it would take you sometimes 6 months to find a record and try every record shop.
Right. You go, right. I remember that. And then you find one in the used bin and it's like, oh my God, I just struck gold. Yeah. Not only did I find it, but it's 75 cents for the whole album.
Totally.
Yeah, man, I do.
Always like, oh my God, I've been looking for this record forever. And I'm still like, I'll find something. I found a Sun Ra record a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, it was on CD, and I was like, oh my God, I've only heard tell about this record. It's like legendary. And somebody found the tapes and put it out, and it was like, oh my God, I've been waiting to hear this record for like 20 years.
It's very cool.
So you still get that little butterflies in your stomach when you actually, seek stuff out and look for stuff. And it seems like kids today don't really do that. They're too busy texting or whatever.
You know what? And I have 3 kids. My 2 sons are 28 and 26. And I will tell you, my older one is aware of Monster Magnet and other bands only because I turned him onto it and he happens to like it. My younger one has no interest in that music, and he pays attention to the music today. So it's really weird because like I can have a conversation with one of them. The other one I have to talk about sports with, which is cool too, you know? So, but it's I don't know. It is kind of weird without sounding like a grumpy old man. It's just kind of different. Yeah.
Yeah. I try and turn people on to stuff all the time, but sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't.
Right. Hey man, let's talk about gear for a few minutes.
Oh, sure.
What's your go-to guitar right now? What other two are round out your top three? And I say go-to, not stuff for sessions. I mean, stuff you like playing. The guitars.
Yeah. Well, you know, it changes weekly. Right now, like
good
I said,
for you, man. So your 74 hardtail Strat?
74 hardtail Strat is my go-to guitar right now, and I also have a Gibson double neck, the Jimmy Page looking one. You know, the
SG
125. Yeah, the SG double neck. And
you play that a lot, like that much? That would be like your number two.
Well, this week it is.
Okay, gotcha.
It's sitting on a stand right over there. I really love the 6-string neck, but it only has like 18 frets or something. It's a smaller neck, but I've been trying to experiment with 12-string stuff. You know, just I have a lot of acoustic stuff I've been playing too. I just got this Yamaha 50th anniversary acoustic that I really like. It has a different logo than all the other Yamahas, but it plays really great. And I have two Ibanez Lawsuit acoustics that one's a copy of a Gibson Hummingbird and the other one's called the Concorde. And you can get that stuff really, really cheap, and I love those things. They play really, really great. They're badass.
Where do you find them? Like eBay or something?
Yeah, these days, because music stores, mom and pop music stores, Guitar Center has pretty much put all those places out of business. So you kind of have to find stuff online. But what else have I been playing lately? Mostly this Strat lately, and I've got another one. I really like Mexican Strats. They're a lot less expensive, but they play great. When I was in Magnet, I had a cream. My backup Strat was a cream Mexican Strat that I had been playing for a couple of years, and I think I got it for like $250 back then.
Very cheap.
Yeah, and I loved it, and it sounded great, and it felt great, and it stayed in tune, you know, which is always good.
Fenders, man. Honestly, I have those two Strats. I have one up there and one here. They never go out of tune. I hate to say it, ever.
It's awesome.
And it's like, and I love to play my Gibsons, but they definitely are tougher guitars to play.
Yeah, I've been like, I bend a lot of strings, so that helps you go out of tune. But the Strats really stay in tune really well. I have a couple Strats with locking tuners on them.
Okay,
that's what I played mostly in Magnet.
Strats, you played mostly in Magnet? Yeah,
well, we had a lot of different tunings. So
okay.
I played when we would tune down to C, which is really low.
Very.
Normally we were in E flat, D sharp,
Yeah.
And that's like the Hendrix.
Typical half step down.
Yeah. And so that was like the normal. And then when we started, I think with Dopes to Infinity, we started tuning down to C. So that's when I started playing Gibsons.
That's really low. Was that for Dave's voice?
Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, it was perfect for like Dopes to Infinity. It's a great song.
Yeah.
And actually, that riff is actually a Sir Lord Baltimore riff. I don't know if you know them.
No, I've heard of them. I've not listened to their music, but I have heard of the band.
And their first record is so good. It's like total over the top.
See, you're turning on to all this new music here.
Early 70s riff rock, Sir Lord Baltimore. But anyway, the Dopes to Infinity is the main that riff is kind of lifted a little bit from Sir Lord Baltimore. They did it a lot faster, but anyway, when we started playing songs in C, I'd use Gibsons, and we would because you have to stay in tune first of all, because the strings warble around. If you put like normal, I had 10 to 46 on my Strats, and then when we would tune down, we had Gibsons. I had a 62 reissue SG and a Black Les Paul, and I got them both from Gibson, which was really nice of them. And we would put on 12s, 12 to 54, with a wound G string, which is tough to bend, but you have to make up for the tension on the neck. So the heavier strings with the low tuning, you would stay in tune, and it would sound heavy as well, but you're still in tune, So that's when I started playing Gibsons live. But in the early days, it was Strats, through Big Muffs and I guess Vox Wahs back then too. But but I have a bunch of Gibsons. I've got a Firebird, a Flying V, the Double Neck. I got like 3 SGs. I just got recently, which actually that's another go-to guitar. It's like a 74 SG, but it was all beaten up. It was somebody's project guitar, and they had to move, so they sold it to me really cheap. And it was a 2 pickup model, but there were no pickups in it, so I just had 1 pickup put in the bridge position and left a hole in the top.
Man, I saw that on your some social media account of yours.
Oh yeah, I think I put a picture up the other day.
Yeah, right.
Of the whole SGs, I have a black SG with 1 pickup, and the black SG with a P94, which is a copy of the P90, the old pickups. I don't know any gearheads out there if they know what that is, but
plenty of people listen to this are gearheads. Trust me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
because I kind of am too. I have a shit ton of gear. I mean, I collect Marshall Jubilee amps too. I don't know if you know those, the silver ones.
No, is that what they are?
Yeah, they were like the 25th anniversary or something. I believe I should know this, but I have. They made 2 different heads. It's pretty much the Slash head.
Okay.
Like the head that he used for Appetite for Destruction was that was the Marshall sound right there that he used, and that's actually the new Slash Marshall, the Slash model.
It's the same.
It's basically a Jubilee. So, but the Jubilees they made, and they didn't make them for very long. But I have the normal head, which is switchable from 50 watts to 100 watts, and then I have the smaller head, which is switchable to 25 or 50 watts. And I've got 1 412 cabinet, and and they're all like silverish, good for the anniversary. And I've got 3 212 cabinets. So they made for the smaller head, they made 2 12-inch speaker cabinets. So and they're pretty cool for recording. I don't play those live because they're all in like super mint condition. So I just record with that stuff.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Hey,
I can't good gear on the road or play live with good gear because you never know somebody's going to spill a beer on something or it vanishes. Yeah, that too. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, when you were playing in Monster Magnet, I was curious, just 3 effects. What was your wah, your fuzz, and your overdrive? Because you didn't have you weren't nutty with effects, but I mean, whatever you used sounded great. So I was curious what that was.
I had a delay. So in the early days, I used the Echoplex for a delay. And then I had a Roland Space Echo. I don't know if you remember that one.
Do not.
That's another big tape echo, but it's another fragile thing. But mainly in the early days, it was a Big Muff, like an older early 70s Big Muff. And they all sound different. So I had 3 or 4 of them I would bring on the road because they also broke down a lot. And you know the Big Muff, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
I have one. I have a newer one right here in my pedal board. I love that. Yeah.
The newer one.
It's great. It's not big. It's just a normal size pedal. It's great.
Yeah. It's and it has the original what do you
Big
call
Muff
it?
Pie
Circuitry of the 69 ones.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And I just got that a couple of weeks ago. But in Magnet in the early days, I would play Big Muffs, a Vox Wah, and a Boss tuner, of course. And then I had some kind of a delay, usually. And then later, it switched over because we needed not as muddy of a sound. So I was using a Maxon distortion master and a Maxon overdrive. Oh, in the early days, I also used a modified Tube Screamer, modified by Analog Man as an overdrive. And but yeah, it changed a little bit. Then I found out I met this guy named Jeffrey Teese. So this is probably around the time of Power Trip, Teese, and he makes Teese wahs. And he makes these great wahs. So I use the picture wah. It's called the picture wah because on the bottom of it, where you take it off to put a battery in, it has a picture of him. But he also, I also got from him, he worked with Joe Walsh and made a Joe Walsh wah that simulated the wah that he used in the James Gang.
Talk about a great band, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was
and when Tommy Bolin was in the James Gang, they were good too, because his guitar playing made it. You know,
100%.
Yeah, the Joe Walsh era. I mean, geez, Louise,
incredible stuff. There you go, man. What was what's that?
Oh, I can't remember it, but I can't figure out. I was trying to play a Joe Walsh riff, but I forgot.
All good stuff, man. Joe Walsh is so good. What would you say is the best guitar and the best amp you've owned or played?
Oh, I still I've had this 76 orange amp, 120 watt overdrive amp. It's not like the new oranges. Not putting the new oranges down or anything, but this thing just sounds great. And I got it when I was really young. And a friend of mine turned me on to orange amps, and you could get them for a song, the old ones for a song back then. You know, like $200, you can get a really great amp. And I've been playing this amp. God, that's the amp that I used in Bitchwax. It made a couple magnet tours. I play it in Ultra Electric. I used that with a boogie cabinet, a 412 boogie cabinet, and that sounds fantastic. Sometimes I use the Jubilee cabinet with it, and that sounds really cool. But always 412s, but I only use half stacks now. But I really love, that's my go-to amp. And then when I'm recording, like I always use that. And, you know, when you're recording, you use different layers. So I'll use a Marshall to kind of have a different sound and play like the same rhythm or something, just kind of beat up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I use whatever's around. Sometimes I'll play through an SVT bass amp.
Okay.
And that sounds pretty cool too. And I mean that's my go-to.
And
right, you know,
of all the guitars you've played, which the best? If you could pick out a best, is it possible?
Well, I like all kinds of Strats, but I got this 92 Strat Plus back in the day when I told you somebody broke in our van and stole my Mexican Strat. I don't know if I told you that. We were in Denmark, like the first Magnet tour, and of course we were staying in the red light district, and they parked out there, and somebody broke into our van and stole a lot of our gear. So we had no guitars because they took all the guitars.
Wow.
So our manager flew over and brought Dave and I 2 Strats, and and we had we never played them before, so we didn't pick them out. And they gave me this 92, and it was 92, so it was brand new, Strat Plus. And the Strat Plus has lace sensor pickups on it, and locking tuners. And so that thing stayed in tune, and that thing still sounds great. I use that to record all the time. I think that guitar, you know, for a guitar, all it has to do is sound decent and stay in tune. And I mean, because the sound is mostly in your fingers, you know, like I said before, Eddie Van Halen could play my guitar and he's going to sound like Eddie Van Halen. I could play his guitar. I'm going to sound like myself.
Sure.
You know, so, but as long as it sounds decent and stays in tune, I'm sold. And that guitar sounded great and stayed in tune, and I still use it.
That's very cool.
I still use it for recording. So that, you know, I like Strats in general. They just feel right. They look cool.
Yeah.
They've got like a sexy body kind of thing. And, you know, and I don't use a whammy bar, so I prefer the hardtails. I have another guitar that I really love. It's called Angry Angus.
What is that?
It's a I don't know where the company is, but it's called Angry Angus, and it's a black Strat. My wife was working in
Canada.
Well, no, we got it in Canada, but
No, the company's Canadian.
Oh, it is? Okay. Oh, I didn't think so. Huh. I guess the company's Canadian. But my wife was working in Montreal, and I went out there, and I found this tiny little music store, and I saw this black Strat copy, and I played it, and it's just like a Strat, except it's a different brand. and but it's a really awesome guitar, and it stays in tune. It sounds great. That's what I used for most of the 9 Chambers stuff was the Angry Angus.
Regular 3 pickups, single coils like a Strat, or
yeah.
Very cool.
It looks just like a Strat, except it's a different name on the headstock. And I like the maple necks on the Strats too.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I mean, I have the 92 one has rosewood. Actually, I have 2 92s. I have a black one and a sunburst one. But yeah, the black Angry Angus, and also the Fender Custom Shop, when we had an endorsement with Fender, made me this. I was on I usually am on a super big Hendrix kick, and like the Isle of Wight, he plays that black Strat with the big headstock. So I had them make me a 69 Strat like Hendrix used from the Fender Custom Shop with a hardtail. So because I don't use the bar, and so it stays in tune and it plays great. And I had the top 2 pickups disconnected, so it's only the bridge pickup, the slanted one.
Why?
So I could take the toggle switch and just go like, and it's like a kill switch, so you can go like, bah, 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 bah,
Oh, okay,
like that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So that guitar is great too. So yeah, I'm pretty much a Strat guy. I don't really play Gibsons too much at home. So yeah, I mean, it's once in a while. But yeah, I have so much gear. I guess I am kind of a gearhead, but not as intense as some people have met that are like super, super into it. It's like, if it sounds decent, I'm fine with it. And
you're also playing all your guitars, it sounds like.
What's that?
It sounds like you're playing most of your guitars too. Like you're not collecting just to collect, like you actually play them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they're there,
Yeah.
I play a lot. So like I'm sitting here noodling with you because I usually am sitting, if I'm watching a football game or a Yankee game or something, I have a guitar in my hands and just kind of noodling and making, I don't know. It's kind of what I do. So
great.
And I don't consider it practice. It's just kind of keeping in shape, and you never know when you're going to come up with a good idea. And you never know. And different guitars, too, inspire different ideas. Like a Gibson where you can't go up as high as you can on a Fender. You have to figure out different ways of playing stuff. And it's like, oh, I never thought of that before. That kind of – you never know when something's going to come up that sounds cool. So, if you're playing all the time, eventually something's going to come up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to.
It's so cool as an outsider observing so many – first-class players, the enthusiasm that, even after 38 years of playing that you have, and the warmth that you have over it, man, it's really, I don't think there's many professions that people have that,
Yeah, I feel really bad for some of these older guys that develop arthritis or have some kind of thing in their arm, a pinched nerve or something. I had a pinched nerve in my arm. I couldn't play for like 2 months. So I had to relearn how to play kind of. So like I can hear it in my mind and I know what to do, but my hand doesn't have the stamina because I haven't been able to play. And so I had to relearn by playing along with Elvis records and Chuck Berry records and just, getting it back together again. But some of these older guys that have been playing for like ever, it's just like, it comes as second nature. And then, if they can't do that anymore, it's just crazy, and like one story that I really am really sad about is Keith Emerson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yeah. He developed this kind of hand thing where he couldn't play anymore. And he got so depressed and he ended up taking his own life. Right. I think most of it was he couldn't play anymore. Like his hands were just messed up, and it's like, dude, you're Keith Emerson and you can't play. Oh my God,
Well, Steve Morse is having some issues.
Oh, really? Well, he's not either. He's been playing for 50 years.
Yeah, he's like I think he's 65. He looks great. I mean, you'd never know.
I've never 65. I know. I thought he was like 18 in the Dregs or something.
He's 65 now, man. Yeah, he looks exactly the same as he did on the freaking cover of the early Dregs records. But yeah, he's 65.
His hair is long, and he doesn't have that 4 pickup Telecaster thing.
Yeah,
but that thing was crazy. That monster, guitar.
That was nutty. But yeah, he's got issues with his hand now, and he struggles with that. Yeah.
I got to meet him once in Spain. We were playing a festival, and Deep Purple were on it, and Government Mule were on it.
Wow.
And we were talking with Warren backstage, and he's like, "Oh, have you ever met Steve?" And I was like, "No." "Steve who?" And he's like, "Oh, come with me." And we went back and hung out with Steve Morse for a while, and what a sweet guy. And he was so nice. And they were jamming along in Purple's dressing room, and our dressing room was right across the way, and so were Mule's. And he was going to play Smoke on the Water with Purple that night. And him and Steve were jamming on it backstage, and it was just like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah, it is cool. He's a very nice guy, extremely. He lives down here in Florida, actually. He's a very nice guy.
The interview you did with him, it was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. He was easy.
He sounded really cool, just normal, and he was really, really cool when I met him.
Yeah, so. extremely humble guy.
Yeah, I remember he had to stop playing for a while and become a professional airline pilot.
We talked about that.
Yeah, he couldn't make any money playing guitar.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly right.
Sucks, man. One of the best players in the world, and he can't make a living playing. Now he can, which is good.
Yeah. Hey, Desert Island Discs, top 3, just for like your knee-jerk reaction. Top 3 records.
Definitely Teaser by Tommy Bolin.
Yeah.
I like also. This is kind of off the wall, but the not early Ted Nugent stuff, but before the 2 albums, right before the album with Stranglehold, his first solo record, it was still called Ted Nugent's Amboy Dukes, and he did 2 records called Call of the Wild and Tooth, Fang, and Claw, and that's like total riff rock. It's not, he hadn't found his voice yet, and he was singing, but he had like a raspier voice. He hadn't found his normal singing voice, but the riffs are just incredible.
What's that second one called? Call of the Wild. What's the second one?
Tooth, Fang, and Claw.
Okay.
And you can get them on a double CD now called Decades of Destruction, and it's both albums on a 2 CD set. Those records are fantastic for guitar riffs. It doesn't sound anything like. It's like 70s riff rock. It's not Ted Nugent, Wango Tango, or anything like that at all. It's just really, really, and there's some instrumentals on there that are just fantastic. And lately I've been listening to Frank Zappa's Sheep Your Booty. I grew up with that. That's another reason my parents thought I was insane, because I was listening to, Bobby Brown and all those songs. And you remember that record?
I have it. I really wanted to enjoy Frank. It's just always challenging, man. The only thing I could listen to is
well, Hot Rats was great too.
The one with the she lives in Mojave. No, not what the hell is it? I could look it up here. But it was funny because Dweezil was in town and they were playing. It's called One Size Fits All. That's the album I like.
That's one of the more popular ones.
Right.
One Size Fits All were it was like 73, 74, 75 in that era.
Right. Apostrophe was 74. One Size Fits All is 75. Correct.
Yeah, those are really good records, though.
Yeah, I like that one. And Dweezil was in town doing Frank's set. They played the whole One Size Fits All. I was really lucky. What's the chances of all the Frank Zappa shit? That's what they're playing. So it was great.
Well, yeah, he did. He still does tours like the Zappa Plays Zappa stuff.
Yeah.
And he has guys that played with Frank,
yeah,
playing with him and stuff, and coming up and guesting when they're in town and all that kind of stuff. And it's pretty cool. He's a great guitar player.
Dweezil? Oh yeah.
He lives out here. I haven't seen him lately. I've seen his brother. Goes to the same Indian restaurant that we like, so I see him every once in a while. Amit.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Dweezil, but I know he lives out here. I think he's married to Lisa Loeb.
Oh, really? Yeah.
From the 80s.
The actress who had a number 1 hit.
Yeah. She always wore glasses.
Yeah. Right. So, I didn't know that she was married to Dweezil.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're still married, but they have a nice little house out here, and I just haven't really run into him or anything. But we did play a show with Z. We played a festival, and back when I was getting better with festivals, playing them and stuff, and I would go out because I had the full pass, and everything. I'd go out to the photography pit and watch some bands, and I was such a huge Frank fan that I saw Z was the band, and it was Dweezil and Amit was singing, and I I watched it from the photography pit at this festival with like 150,000 people and all that.
That's got to be nuts, man.
That was totally cool. And I wanted to meet him backstage, but I never got a chance. But I think he's a fantastic guitar player.
Incredible, man. Hey, I'm going to ask you like 3 more questions. This is a tough one. Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
Actually, it's been better than what I've imagined.
That's
which
great.
is, I guess that answers, because I always wanted to play guitar and be able to make a living playing guitar for, most of my life is pretty cool. Because, when you first start, you dig the music, but you're not good. It takes a couple of years to get decent. And I've been playing so long. So, at this point, I better be able to play pretty decent,
Yeah, I think you passed the decent part, man.
Oh, thanks. It's like all the experiences that I've had. If I was like still working nights at a supermarket or, doing whatever, anything like that, I don't think I'd be happy. And I've done so many things and got the opportunities to do so many things that I never would have thought of. And, like playing with Gregg Allman, like what? That's insane. And some of the things I've been able to do because of music is great, because I never would have imagined, if you talk to my 15-year-old self, it would have been something I would have been wanted to do, even though I had no idea. I was still green when I first went on tour. Super green. I hadn't eaten some foods that, I didn't know what a Caesar salad was. I didn't,
Sure.
And so you learn things, and I've learned things and met people that I never would have met and wouldn't even imagine meeting. Like I met my wife. She was photographing at a concert. We were playing
Leominster.
Yeah,
outside of Boston.
Westminster, and she was working on a movie called Fever Pitch out there, and they were filming at Fenway Park. And she does concert photography on the side, so she had a pass, and she came back and took our photos, and we stayed in touch. And that was a great festival too. Clutch were playing on that bill.
Oh wow!
And also Dimebag Darrell was playing on that bill too. Oh, somebody's at the door.
I'm gonna get the dog in. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, so Dimebag Darrell, before he passed away, was playing. So she's got great photos of all those bands.
Yeah.
And but we stayed in touch, so I would have never met my wife if maybe we would have. I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But my life has been so much better. You have highs and lows, like everybody. But I couldn't even have imagined some of the things, the opportunities I've had and the things I've gotten to do. And I'm very grateful for it. So, and I really enjoy making records because there's such a creative process. And when I was a kid, I had a member, I don't know if you remember, Fostek's 4-track cassette.
Yeah.
Those came out. Mm-hmm. I couldn't wait because back then I wanted to be a recording engineer. And I was almost going to go to a school for that in Ohio. And then the guitar thing happened, and I kept playing. So by the time I was 22, I've been playing for 10 plus years. So I pretty much had the basics down. And I never took, that was another thing. I did at first took a few guitar lessons, but I didn't like it because if somebody's telling you what to do, I don't like people telling me what to do.
Sure.
I never did. So I just learned some chords and stuff. And then I learned so much more from playing along with records,
So you're 100% self-taught. That's amazing.
Maybe not 100%, but at least 95.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would play along with Mountain records. Ted Nugent records were great because everything was always in A. And Stranglehold is like.
Yeah, Stranglehold's an A because I could play that. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm just messing around, but yeah. So I can't believe that I got the opportunity to do a lot of things. So I'm really grateful, and I think my life is definitely different than my parents thought it would turn out like. And I don't think they really appreciated, going on tour, and because they hear about sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all that kind of stuff. And going to Europe was fantastic. I got to meet so many people and learn about different cultures and different things. And because we played all over Europe, and getting to go to Greece, and I never would have imagined that. So And, I've really, I think everything's going cool. And I think everything does happen for a reason. So I guess I was meant to do this and meant to meet my wife and meant to have a cat. And, I always love cats. So
Are your folks still around?
My mom passed away a few years ago.
Sorry about that, man.
Oh, it's all right. It happens. Death is part of life. It sucks at first and you have to deal with it. But my dad's still around. He moved to Arizona and he just turned 70. So
he's relatively young.
He's still getting up there. He's growing this giant beard. He's in his Ernest Hemingway phase. So he's trying to grow this giant Santa beard thing. And he looks like a freak, so.
Oh man.
But that's cool, I've had long hair for freaking ever. My mom wouldn't let me grow my hair until I got out of high school. So I never
really.
I always had like a center part was kind of feathered back, and I was like, I always wanted to be, like a rock star. Frank Marino had this long flowing hair, Ted Nugent had this long flowing hair, and Steve Morse had the long hair, and everybody, and I listened to everything back then, and I looked at all the pictures on the albums, and who took the photo, I looked at everything, and I was like, that's what I want to look like, as long as I have hair, I'm going to grow it, and all that, and it's still long.
Yeah, man, you got good hair for 49, dude.
Yeah, I donated a lot too, but because
I saw that too on. Not that I've been like stalking you or anything. I looked at your Facebook to get some photos actually for the interview, and I saw some of that. That's what I think I saw something on there.
Yeah, there's a charity called Locks for Love,
right?
And it's for like cancer kids.
Yeah,
and
it's really cool.
Human hair wigs, but you have to have at least 10 inches. Because they lose 2 inches in the process of making it. So I donate like 13, 14. So you basically, every couple of years, I've done it a few times, I think 2 or 3 times, at least 2.
That's really cool.
My hair grows so fast and it's like whatever. So you just put your hair in a ponytail and you cut it and then you ship the ponytail to them. And then you take a picture of yourself holding the ponytail and then they put it on their website and all that.
That's cool, man.
You put it in a Ziploc bag and send it to them, and they make a wig or put it towards making a wig for a kid. But anyway, I ramble. But when I was a kid, my mom, I wanted to have like super long hair since I was like 12 or even younger probably, and my mom was like, as long as you're in school and you're under our roof, you're not growing your hair. So as soon as I graduated high school, I didn't think I had a haircut for like, I don't know, 2 years or something like that.
There you go, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, totally.
I don't even remember what the question is.
No, I just said, are your folks still around? Yeah, it's all good. 2 more questions, man. Can you talk about, they're all tough questions, these last 3. Talk about a specific experience that either changed your life or altered the way you think about things. Doesn't have to be a bad experience, could be a good experience, either way.
Wow, that's an interesting question. Let me see. Well, getting married definitely altered my life. Because automatically, and we have a house here in Los Angeles, you have a lot more responsibilities, which I'm still getting used to, but definitely altered my life because, you have to be responsible and you have to, be a good member of the community and all that. And I was used to being on the road, partying all the time and all that. And it's like, wow, this is totally different. So that definitely changed. Going on tour definitely changed because I learned so much. That's a positive thing. And I'd like to thank John and Joe, our bass player and drummer and bass player, for helping me through those green years because, like I said, I didn't know about different foods. All I knew about Chinese food was sweet and sour chicken.
Yeah, but how does anybody know about that stuff when they're 22? Because when you said that, you said you didn't know what a Caesar salad is. I remember when I had my first job out of college, I was like, I thought of the same thing. I had to eat with like a bunch of forks. I was like a business dinner and I'm like, fuck, what are all these like,
yeah.
Why do I have such a massive selection of silverware? Right? And I just kind of like glanced around and so I was thinking nobody knows that stuff unless you like happen to grow up with that stuff, and I certainly didn't, you know.
No, I didn't either. So that changed me a lot because I got to learn all this stuff, and the other guys helped me a lot. Said, oh yeah, try this, or you know, even not even just food, but like different things, and you know, that totally changed everything because I was learning so much stuff really fast.
Which is great.
Yeah, it was cool, and I was open to it, and you know. And I got to listen to different bands that I never would have heard of. So definitely, like the first couple of tours definitely changed my life for the better because I was learning so much stuff and learning to actually more or less live on my own, you know,
right.
And being able to carry myself. And, you know, if we have to go out to a dinner with a record company, guys, you know, I can figure it out, you know, and be polite and, you know what to order and know what to do and know what to say and not to do this, not to do that, and be polite. And because, you know, before that I was hanging out with, you know, people my age, you know, I was getting stoned a lot then, you know, so everybody was like getting stoned and listening to music and stuff. And then all of a sudden you're in like this business world. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So
well, you don't know that shit.
Everything. Yeah. I mean, how are you supposed to know that unless you go through it? And those guys definitely helped me through a lot of that stuff. So, but that was definitely life-changing, you know. It was like all of a sudden you're like all this input, you know, like crazy.
It was cool, man. And last question, was that?
Oh, for the better, though.
Yeah. Last question. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of the change has been deliberate and how much is just a part of aging?
Well, you know, the part of aging is really that's true. I believe I've gotten a lot more mellow and a lot more tolerant of things. And I mean, but aging is that's part of aging too, I believe, because and you know, another thing is I don't anymore seek out approval from others. You know, it's like I realized some of my decisions over the years were, you know, I put myself in weird positions where I make bad decisions or something, or I try and show off to impress somebody or whatever. And it's like, you know, in the last 10 years or so, I'm just like, you know what? I really don't care what people think. You know, I'm who I am and whatever. Like I walk into a restaurant with my wife and we're like, hey ladies, you want to sit down? And I'm just like, and then they see us from behind, and then, you know, because my hair and everything.
Yeah.
They see me and like, oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, I don't fucking give a shit. But I don't seek approval from others anymore.
Good, man.
Because it's just and whereas I know I've made decisions where I was trying to do that a lot when I was younger, but that's also part of aging, I think, too. Maybe
that is the number.
Let your freak flag fly, kind of, you know.
Yeah, but I think that's the number one answer that people give 45 and up.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, that's the number one. Like I didn't make decisions. In fact, I made stupid decisions just to piss people off, which is another fucking problem the other way. Yeah. But, you know, but like, I think like once you hit 45, 50, you just become more comfortable. Just you're good with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
I mean, there's still stuff to work on, you know.
Always. Absolutely.
I don't want to change myself, but there's things about myself that I just want to work on, you know, like you said. And also, I mean, I've changed with my guitar playing too. I'm a lot more patient with that. And instead of playing, you know, fast or whatever, and this is also like listening to guys like Leslie West. Yeah. It's trying to get the right note in the right place instead of, you know, getting a lot of notes all over the place, you know. And so I don't care if it's fast or if it's slow or whatever, but Leslie West was the master of that. You know, he had the right note in the right place, even when he was like on heroin and high as hell. Just had that knack, you know, and it's perfect. And it's like, that's where I'm trying to get. And I think as I get older and play more, you know, that's why I have guitars in my hand and all that, as you know, is that's where I'm trying to get. So, I want the right note in the right place. I don't care what anybody else thinks, as long as I feel that's the right note in the right place. There you go. And it's, challenging sometimes, but you put the work in, and it generally, it's happening more and more for me anyway. So
it's interesting that you say that, because I never, like, to me, you're just always a tasty riff player. I never thought and I'm not saying this, I'm not that guy to just say shit to blow smoke up someone's ass, but I really always enjoyed Monster Magnet's music, and I always enjoyed your playing because you were melodic, and you weren't the guy that's, getting paid by the note or something like that, and and I always loved how you use, and you still do with Ultra Mega, you use your effects. Like when you use a wah, it's not, there's a reason you're doing it, and you're playing to it, and then you're done, which is which is a great guitar player, man. It's purposeful. It's not like, oh, let me use a wah pedal.
What I love doing with the wah, by the way, is just leaving it in a weird mid-range position and playing, like halfway.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And that's a big Frank Zappa thing. But, more and more, also as I get older, I'm working more and more with backwards guitars.
Oh, with the engineering stuff.
Well, Memory Man now makes, or Electro Harmonics makes the Memory Man pedal.
Okay.
It makes a digital one, and you can get a reverse setting, and I've got it set to perfect, so I can play backwards guitars live. And I did on the Ultra Electric stuff, I did backwards sitars. I love backwards cymbals. So one song on the solo record I'm working on, there's going to be backwards congas. Like the whole thing is going to be backwards. So, there you go.
Very cool, man.
It's something, and it's, if people like it, that's cool, but I like it.
Hey,
so.
You're having fun. I'm sure someone's going to like it.
Yeah. But backwards guitars are freaking awesome. And that's another thing, is it's so random, but 9 times out of 10 or 99 out of 100, you'll get something that sounds cool, and you get notes that are right in the right place that you never would have thought of, and it's like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool, and it's a whole learning process, so.
Very cool, man. Dude, I cannot thank you enough for your time. Real nice talking to you. I'm really glad to hear your story. Anyway, I could support your music. Let me tell people.
Before I go, pick up that Sir Lord Baltimore record. Record.
Dude, I have it. You've turned me on to like 5 things I have here in red. This has been like a music lesson for me, a music history lesson. Let me tell people where to find you. First of all, it's Ed Mundell, Mundell. Check out anything at all that Ed did with Monster Magnet from 92 to 2010. It's on all 7 albums. He's just a masterful player and was a definite inventor of the psychedelic and stoner rock genre as it is today. I mean, just incredible stuff that is timeless. Ed's current project is the Ultra Electric Mega Galactic. Say that fast 3 times when you're stoned. And let me tell you where you could find that. First of all, they're on iTunes, and they're anywhere you could find music. It's very good stoner stuff, much more stretched out, nice long jams. On Facebook, you can go to the Ultra. It's at facebook.com, Ultra Electric Mega Galactic. And you can also find the website at the Ultra Electric Mega Galactic. And Ed also has an Infinity fuzz pedal, the Ed Mundell Infinity fuzz pedal. So check that out. Also, Ed is doing a solo record. And according to the boss, which is Ed's wife, it will be out in 2019, and hopefully Ed will come on here and we'll talk about it, and maybe we could play some stuff off the record and we'll learn about what's involved there. And I can't even play things forward. He's playing shit backwards. That's because he's Ed Mundell. That's why. And that's it, man. Anything I missed?
No, I think you're good. Thanks.
No, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
No, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is really cool. You were one of the guys, like when I started this show, there was like a handful of guys that I've really meant something to me. So you were on that list. So this is very cool, man. So thank you. Everybody, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support with this. Thanks again to Ed Mundell for spending time with us. I really appreciate it. Please check out Ed's music and check out the Ultra Electric Mega Galactic and his Infinity pedal, because I know a lot of players listen to this. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.